Should I use adapted lenses on a mirrorless camera or not? Let's talk a little bit about this topic. Hello everybody, my name is Attila Mate from Blue Sky Photography, and today I'd like to talk to you about a great topic, and that would be, should I use adapted lenses on mirrorless cameras or not? Now, I have to tell you something, this is a very controversial topic, and many photographers will swear that that is the best way to get older lenses, like older Nikon lenses or Canon lenses, and get into to the mirrorless, system and put on the camera, and then you can get great possibilities. In one way, it is true. Now, like I say many times, I don't want to make angry anybody out there. This is only my opinion, and this is based on my own experience, and you might have a different opinion. If yes, please feel free and leave a comment down below, and let's discuss it in a professional manner. But in the same time, I have a lot of experience with mirrorless, with DSLRs, and I have to tell you, I used adapted lenses many times on the mirrorless. I was in the Sony system for a pretty long time, and I know what I'm talking about. So I used adapted on the Sony system, Pentax lenses, old Pentax lenses. I used Nikon lenses, and I know what kind of image quality are you able to get. The example with the Sony A7R. I used to have the Sony A7R, and I used to shoot with them. Now, if somebody have a different opinion, that's not a big problem. We are all different. We can have different opinions. That's the beauty of this world. We are not the same. But in the same time, please, if you can, prove, and if you want, send some photos to me, or even make a video and post on YouTube, we can see what you are talking about. Because I might say some things what other photographers will not like, So let's dive into it, and let's see what is my opinion. So like I said, many photographers get really excited when we talk about mirrorless cameras, because you can actually adapt almost any lens to them, and that's true. That's true. You can get some dumb adapters. I call them dumb adapters because they don't have any electrical connections, so the lens will not talk to the camera body. And you can adapt actually any kind of lens to a mirrorless. And why you can do that? Because the mirrorless camera has a shorter distance between the lens and the sensor. You are able to put that adapter, and to fill up the gap, which the DSLR will have a bigger distance between the lens and the sensor. So the extra distance which is there, that's why you are able to put the adapter in it and adapt any lens on a mirrorless. Now, obviously, if you want to adapt native mirrorless lenses, like the example Olympus lenses to the I don't know, Fuji body, or Fuji lenses, if you want to adapt to the Sony body, it's not possible because those lenses are made for mirrorless. So you can adapt only lenses made for DSLRs. But any lens made for DSLR or made for rangefinder cameras, like the example Leica lenses or Voigtlander lenses and these kind of lenses, they are all adaptable to the mirrorless cameras. Now, in the same time, when we talk about adapted lenses, we should not forget that the smaller sensor cameras, like the Micro Four Thirds cameras or the APS-C size cameras, will not give you the same results when you adapt full frame lenses on them. And I have to tell you, this is not only my experience. There are many photographers out there who will share my opinion, and it's true. I did try several times. So if you have a lens made and designed for full frame camera, and you adapt that for an APS-C size Sony camera or even a smaller Micro Four Thirds camera, you will not have the same results, like if you put a native lens which was designed for Micro Four Thirds or APS-C. I tried this with Sony, and I tell you, now, listen to me, I did this test twice, not once, twice. I used to have the Sony Zeiss 55mm f1.8 lens, which lens is actually, if you look in the DxO mark, It is one of the best lenses, one of the best prime lenses. It's in between the first 5-6 lenses. So that's one of the best lenses. And I tested that lens together with the Sony 50mm f1.8 prime lens, which is made actually for APS-C size sensor. Now, both lenses I tested on the Sony a6000, because the 55mm 1.8 size, that is made for full frame, and I had that lens for my Sony a7R. But I wanted to see if there is a difference in image quality when I use that lens on my Sony a6000. And I have to tell you that I made several scenarios, several situations, you know, like evening and daytime and this and that. And the results, when I looked on the results were the same. So I couldn't see any difference between the 55 size and the 50mm 1.8 APS-C size lens, which is actually a €250 lens. Why I couldn't see the difference? Because the 55mm was made for a full frame camera, was designed for a full frame camera, and it has larger glass in it, you know, larger lenses, lens elements in the lens actually. The 50mm 1.8, that was made for APS-C size, and that has smaller elements, but the sensor will use the whole lens element area, unless with the 55 it will use only the middle of the lens. Now many photographers will say, that's good because any lens, you know, it is not so sharp on the side, you know, it's sharp in the middle and it will use only the sharpest side. Well, that is much more complex than you would think about. It's not just that simple. It's not. The lens construction, it's not as simple as you would think. So, in my tests, if I take a €250 lens and I take an €800 lens, because that was the 55 1.8 size, that was an €800 lens. I don't know now at this moment the price, but even now probably it's about 700, 800 euro. So the two lenses behave the same on the Sony a6000. In the same time, image quality wise, you will get better results with a lens designed for a specific sensor you use. Like, I tell you a very simple example. Why did I move from Sony to Nikon? Because actually there were two lenses on the market which made me move, and that was the Sigma 18-35 and the Sigma 50-100 zooms. These two zooms, they are the best lenses on the market at the moment, created for APS-C size cameras. Image quality wise, I'm talking about. Image quality wise. I'm not talking about not talking about construction wise, you know, I'm not talking about weather sealing, I'm talking about image quality wise and sharpness wise. And many photographers will say, yes, well, sharpness is not so important because it's not only the sharpness, then the blah, blah, blah. Look, and please prove me wrong or tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you can do that. What is the most important thing in your photos what you cannot add in post-processing, or cannot remove, or cannot correct, let's call it, in post-processing? That would be the sharpness. You can add sharpness in post-processing, but that's not the same. If you have a very sharp lens, if you get, with that lens, you get, let's say, a little bit of chromatic aberration, you get a little bit of distortion, you get a little bit of, I don't know, you don't get enough contrast, that's okay. Chromatic aberration you can remove, distortion you can fix it, and you can add some contrast. But in the same time, the lens is damn sharp. Now, if you get another lens where there is no chromatic aberration and no distortion, but in the same time it's not sharp, now try to make it as sharp as with the other lens. It's not possible. And I tell you, this is my own experience. I did this test several times. I did try. I know what I'm talking about. If you don't believe me, try, and you will see I'm right. So, The Sigma Art zooms. The Sigma Art zooms, they are the best image quality wise lenses created for APS-C size sensor. And many photographers will use those lenses, even adapt on micro four thirds cameras, and they will use them. And still it is great image quality. So that's why if I buy a crop size sensor camera and I put the Nikon, let's say a Nikon D7200, and I put the Sigma 18-35 lens on it, and you take the Nikon D750, which is an excellent camera, and you put a Nikon lens on it, and when you will compare the two photos, you will see that the 7200 with the Sigma 18-35, it's sharper, it's poppier, the photos are greater. Why? Because that lens was created for APS-C size camera. It was designed for it, and it works the best on APS-C size camera. Like I said, don't get me wrong. I'm not against adapting lenses, but if you are an image quality freak like me, I'm an image quality freak, I want the best possible image quality in my images. You have to understand that you have to use lenses designed for that specific sensor. If that is micro four thirds sensor, then you use micro four thirds lenses. If it's crop sensor, use crop lenses. I don't say that it's not possible to use adapted lenses, but you won't get the best possible image quality, period. So, at the end of the day, it's up to you. If you are not, if for you image quality is not really important, then it's no problem at all. You can use any lens. Like I said, I used Pentax lenses, I used Nikon lenses on my Sony A7R. I did great photos, but those photos were never the same like if I used a lens created, designed for Sony A7R. That's it. You won't do that. You won't get that. So, if you have some different opinion, that's like I said at the beginning, it's okay. Please feel free and leave a comment down below, and we can discuss it in a professional manner. But I think, in my opinion, if you want to get the best possible image quality, you have to think about buying the lens which is created for and designed for that specific sensor. And that's the reason I moved, like I said, from Sony to Nikon, because these two lenses, the Sigma 18-35 and the Sigma 50-100, they are created and designed for APS-C, and they are the best lenses on the market, what you can see at the moment. And I had a video a year ago or something, you know, I made a video about the Nikon D610 and Nikon D7200, and I compared the two cameras. And on the Nikon D610, I used the Nikon 2470 f2.8, and on the Nikon D7200, I used the Sigma 18-35 lens, and all the photos were better on the Nikon D7200 than on the Nikon D610 full frame camera. And then people got angry and they argued with me, and they said, why didn't you use the same lens? Because it's nonsense to use the same lens. Because if I use the Nikon lens on the Nikon D7200, yes, the Nikon D610, the sensor, it might be a little bit better, or let's say the same, like the Nikon D7200, we call it image quality wise. But it's nonsense, because if you cannot use the same lens, you know, on the camera, or even if you can and you don't get better quality, why should you do that? If you get the Sigma lens, which creates much better image quality, you should get that one. So I would say, when you compare two cameras, you should use the best possible lens selection for each camera. So if I use the example crop sensor, I use the best possible lens, which is the Sigma zoom lens or Sigma Art primes. And if I use a full frame lens, I use again something which is the best possible lens for that sensor. Well, that makes sense, in my opinion. Because even the sensor one is better than the other. That's nothing, because if you put a lens on it, the lens will make up, I would say, 60% of the image or even more, and only 40% is the sensor. So that's why I say, if you want to get the best possible image quality, you have to use the lens that's created and designed for that sensor. Okay, Like I said, if you have different opinion, please feel free and leave a comment down below. I hope that you like this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe and share my videos. And other than that, I wish you a nice day and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys.